Hi, teams. We're back with an update tonight regarding the Scottish Government's transition programme for testing. We'll give you some ideas about what that means for you as teams and probably some advice that you could give to the public, and myself and Matt will go back and forward with that. You'll also be aware that last week the Scottish Government released a circular about the LFD Collect service coming to an end for pharmacies from the end of March. Now, we know that Alliance are already out of stock at LFD kits for issuing to the public. So we are also aware that a lot of the teams will have run out of stock by now. So we're producing a poster. We're due one from our colleagues at Scottish Government, but it's not ready just quite yet. So we've got a poster, and it should be in the link to this particular video, that you could use to at least tell people that you've now run out and you're not able to get any others. So Matt, I think I'll maybe come over to you now, and you could let the teams know about what's happening from mid-April.
Yeah, I think it can be quite confusing, Harry, I think, between the different messages that the public will get, and I'm sure pharmacies will be one of these places that the public will come in to get their information. So I think it's probably useful for us to differentiate what is going to be the expectations for the general public, and then maybe what's the expectations for pharmacy teams and the difference between the testing and what the expectations are. So certainly around mid-April, the advice for the general public to do lateral flow testing twice a week will end. So we know that's part of the transition plan. If you want to do visit anybody in a care home or in the hospital, then there's still an expectation that you would have to do a kind of lateral flow test to go into those settings, which is understandable due to the high risk nature of those settings. PCR will still be available for symptomatic patients, presumably if they can't get any LFDs, because as we know, and everybody's probably been doing LFD tests at the minute. And around mid-April, contact tracing and isolation still meant to continue as now. And I know that maybe changes towards the end of April, and this is for the general public at the minute. I'll come back in a minute after Harry takes us through probably to the next stage at the end of April on what the impact is in pharmacy teams.
Right, thanks, Matt, because I think from the end of April, there will be a move away from population level symptomatic testing. So only where confirmation really of a COVID test would make a clinical difference. So that's typically for us going to be antiviral supply. The test and protect stroke isolation effectively ends. There will be a step down from the end of April. Messaging moves from isolation to stay home if unwell. We're expecting that at the end of April. And the LFD for care home and hospital will actually remain in place. So we'll be encouraging people to do that, but it'll be kept under review right up until that particular time. So that's the kind of public bit. Really, we're letting the teams know that because we reckon you could get some questions about it. And therefore, we're trying to give you as much advanced information as we can. And Matt, I think you'll now make sure what it means for pharmacy teams as a result of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Harry, because as we know and as we recognise, and it has been recognised at Scottish Government level, community pharmacies are classed as health and social care premises, so it's part of that primary care healthcare team. So there is an expectation that the stocks that you can order for your teams only through the PCOS system, and there's more details on our website of how you can order those supply of kits for your teams, that you continue as teams testing twice weekly throughout April, and actually indeed for the foreseeable future. So, and we'll certainly let you know of when that and if that changes for health and social care settings. Continued use of PPE for the foreseeable future as well. So, obviously that safety measure for you and the public is still in there almost, but yeah, it's going to be kept under close review. But we know that the PPE supply is still coming through the usual channels for you and will remain so. But I think what we have to understand, I suppose, is the advice, as we know, through this whole transition period will be kept under close review. So we'll be keeping in contact with Scottish Government colleagues from Public Health to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information at your fingertips, how to keep yourselves and your teams safe throughout the next coming months.
Yeah. And I think for that, Matt, we'll be back in touch as soon as we get any updated information. So you're right, it'll evolve as we go along, and we'll try and keep you, teams and the pharmacies, as up to date as we possibly can. I'd just like to close off tonight's video with a thanks again for people noticing that Community Pharmacy Scotland was 110 years old on the 22nd. So just on Tuesday there. So it was great to see people liking that and celebrating, would I say, how long we've been around and some of the things we've managed to achieve right through from the First World War right up to where we are with the current pandemic. So thanks everybody for your contribution again, and we'll be back in touch when we can.
Thanks. Bye.